So, welcome to our third session with Hanni. In the previous session, we had kind of two contexts, two topics. One was to go more into the mechanics of those background loop thoughts that you have identified as being behind the vague feeling of self-criticism. So, as far as I understood you, actually, when you investigated, there were concrete scenes, concrete memories that played in a loop in the background of your mind that created those feelings. This is what I understood, and it was quite challenging for you to get into the topic or to access those memories, which I completely understand because, after all, the mind is quite busy to block them out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So there
Yeah.
is a part of kind of your mind that is, for whatever reason, not really interested to bring these to the surface. And then in the second part, I guess we discussed more pragmatically about how you interact, how you show vulnerability, how you ask for help. And we discussed a few possibilities of how to frame it so that you can be more comfortable to show yourself and to interact with people so that you feel closer to them and you give them a glimpse into how you feel like without overburdening them. So this is the
Mm-hmm.
memory that I have of our last conversation. And today I would like, since this is our last session together in this recording series, I would like to give you the opportunity to either continue with one of these topics of last time, or to put something in the foreground that is just a priority for you, and so that we make the best use of our time today.
Okay. I think I've been, well, I mean, it's been since we last spoke, it's been a very hectic few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of different, I think, situations where I mean, I'm just not feeling well, just overall to say
Yeah.
it in that sense. But um, So as we spoke last time about the memories and the loops and the kind of background, I guess, story,
Mm.
the latest ones, because I did try to kind of pinpoint if there were specific ones or why exactly am I choosing certain loops without, I mean, it's not conscious,
Yes.
and I guess the latest ones would be because it was my birthday a couple of weeks ago, and having a birthday for me is always very difficult.
Mm.
Um, it it's not it's not a happy a happy day, and so for the past 2 weeks after my birthday, I think I've been really having a lot of um kind of the same looping story, and it's been about people that I have had close to me, or like, for instance, my last partner, or I guess my father, who like who didn't reach out to me to even say happy birthday.
Mm.
And this has been very hard for me because, I mean, I don't think I need to explain why it would make me feel bad.
Yeah.
But it's been constant, I think, questioning of trying to understand their thinking, or trying to forgive, trying to question, also being upset and angry and not understanding. And this kind of feeling, or I think questioning, or whatever you want to call it, is just, it makes it brings me down every time, and I can't get out of it. And I want to, and I'm questioning how I guess how can I maybe adapt my way of thinking, or say, I don't know, like, what can I do? Like, is my question, that so that I can just move past that, or that I don't have such I guess strong feelings coming from that, because at the end I cannot control what other people do, and I don't want to
Yes.
let it affect me longer than, I don't know. I just don't want to have to, like, in going on now 3 weeks, having this continuous loop of the same kind of situation where it brings me down, and I just feel really, really bad, and that obviously affects everything else in my life, because it makes me feel like I just have no self-worth. Like, just feel like if other people can provide such a, I think, simple thing,
Yeah.
and I'm not speaking out with strangers, of course, then why? I don't know, it just makes me, like, question me as a person, and I don't know, it makes it very hard for me to feel good.
Yes. So that's quite understandable, right? All of us, one of the main things that we want to experience is to be liked, wanted, and loved. And in the previous conversations, we already touched upon the topic that you occasionally feel isolated, and you don't feel that the people, or that some people around you don't know you very well, and you don't know how to change this and to open up. So it sounded like already you were kind of having difficulties with a lack of authentic affection and closeness. And then on top of that, you have a situation now that you described where you ask yourself, am I that unlovable that those people for whom it would be just a decent thing to wish me well for my birthday, not even the greatest love or affection, but just to say hi, just I don't know, as people sometimes do, just a random Facebook message that takes 5 seconds literally. If they don't
Yeah.
even do that, and it's not just one person, but there seems to be a pattern. There's a group of people who should do that just by their status, because we work close or with their family or something. They don't do that. That cannot be all about them. That must say something about me. What's wrong with me? Why am I so unlovable or invisible for them? Right? So it touches kind of a topic and a theme that would disturb any of us. It's bearable when we have a few people that we're really close to, right? And because then this is where the mind goes. The mind, if I have 3 good friends, 2 good family members, something like that, the mind goes to them and tells itself, at least I have them. Screw those other people. I don't need them because I have them. But if I have too few of them, or the qualities with them is not as I hope, I don't have a resting point. The mind cannot go to this one place that says, at least I have them. And this is how I understand your situation. Is that more or less correct?
Yeah, I guess that I feel that way, and I think it's also, I'm wondering why I can't just feel that I'm okay with, I guess, just having me in some sense, so that I can just feel, I guess, better, and just try to, well, maybe if I don't understand, that's okay. Just say that if I don't understand how other people behave, that's okay, but that doesn't reflect on me. But it seems to be that other people's behavior
Yeah.
it affects me so much that that it kind of shifts my own self-worth and confidence.
Yes. And that is, see, at the same time, there's so much truth in what you say, and it's so difficult. This is
Yeah.
what we would love to have. Everyone would love to have that. And to, so many things that we do in our life, the masks that we wear, the careers that we pursue, the, financial means and all of that. An important part of that is that we try to secure a lifestyle and a network of people that makes me independent so that I can choose with whom I want to be friends. And I'm, so good at how I come off that, of course, they want me as their friend. Or if I
Mm-hmm.
want to live in a certain place, I can go into this calm, peaceful neighborhood, calm, peaceful city that I like to have those, inspirations culturally or socially. This is good part of why we're doing the normal things that we're doing in life is to secure this superior position that allows us to choose and to be in the place of agency. So many people wish for themselves to be Teflon in that sense, to be independent, to be sufficient, and to just reach out to the people that they want to be in touch with, but not out of desperation, not out of need.
Yeah.
At the same time, this is the most difficult thing to do because when the mind develops, it develops an interaction and it develops in complete dependence. There is no desire or need baked into our system that can be purely satisfied on my own, kind of, naturally. Over the centuries, we have developed, cultural, psychological means to build something within us that resembles a self-reliance, with all those meditation techniques and the relaxation techniques and the self-reflection techniques and so on, because finally we want to get rid of this dependence that we grew up with, the dependence on the parents, the dependence on, early friends, on the environment in general. All this effort just shows how difficult that is. So while I understand that you have this strong wish and this longing for independence, it's really an incredibly difficult thing to pull off. The people don't seem to struggle with that. There are people like we see them, whatever, as friends and so on. Basically, they fall into the category of they don't know what they have. They have been given so much in terms of how they grew up, what kind of parenting they experienced, what kind of, because of the style that they interact, people feel attracted to them, so they think that they have a choice in making friends and so on. It's what I want to say with that is they have not gained a true independence. They are lucky for the resources that they have been given. They are not independent.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to them. And many are so confident and they know how to approach people and so on. So they have the confidence of, you know what, no matter where I end up, if I stay in this country, in this city, I can always make some friends because my experience shows that I have this way with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about the people that don't? What about if they, for whatever reason, lose their stand, lose the capacity and the skill to attract people, to catch them? And there are people, for example, while we are at university, many people think that, oh, social life is easy, you just talk to someone and so on. And then there is kind of the big shocker when they go into work life. Maybe they start their own business or they're in some small company or they have to move to another place. And suddenly there's the realization, oh, you know that as an expat, when we move somewhere, our first experience is not that the greatest people are looking for me. The interesting, good people that I perceive as good people, they have the spots taken. They have their people. So when it comes to those transitions, then it occurs to many people, oh, you know what? Actually, it's not that easy. There's another transition point that you know well. We're in the same kind of generation. When we approach the middle age, not necessarily you in this example, but other people who have been occupied with family, and then the kids get older, maybe, you know, the partner distances themselves for whatever reason from them, and they realize, oh, I didn't actually invest in friendships over the past years. So who do I have now? And then it might look bleak, which again shows how difficult it is to have this independence. Okay, so I'm recounting all this. I'm speaking about this to make clear how big of a challenge that is to develop a core within myself that is self-reliant, that allows me to retreat into this place when I'm soft, when I'm vulnerable, and when I'm weak. A situation that you are in right now. And as much as I would wish that people would have it easily accessible, it is one of the most difficult things to pull off. What are your thoughts about that when you hear me kind of trying to putting it into context?
Yeah, I think I'm just thinking about maybe then what if it's a big challenge, then what smaller things, I guess, could I do so that I don't get so overwhelmed or affect so much of who I am.
True.
Because if it's something that's going to be such a huge mountain to climb, then what are the little steps I guess I can do so that I'm in some sense taking care of myself, but obviously I'm not solving the huge picture if it's you know a hard task, because
So,
I just
please.
no I just because I need to still be present in life, and I still need to, you know, function in some sense. And I find that when I'm feeling this way, it really affects me so much that it's just like it's really hard to kind of turn it off.
Yes, absolutely. I think there are a couple of things to say here. There is a pragmatic part, actually a part that you know quite well because you have been working on yourself on many levels, not just on the super pragmatic ones, also going deeper.
Yeah.
So you know this approach, and just to kind of recount a few things that you mentioned, you're doing breathing techniques, you're doing yoga, as far as I remember, some sort of meditations, positive affirmations, something like that. So you have been on this journey, and I'm sure there are many things that you have not described that you have done over the years. So you're familiar with that approach. What can add to that is that because this is an interactional kind of issue, a source that gives me grievance that comes from a lack of nice encounters or emotionally reliable encounters, it would be good to have a social thing that somehow at least contributes to fill that gap. And what I have in mind is, you know, when over the years when I reflect on which social groups I interacted with, so for example, when I went to meditation groups, and I'm not insisting on the meditation context, I just want to highlight what an interesting quality of that was, which is that usually I didn't go out with those people afterwards. Usually I didn't become friends with them. So it's not that it was kind of on the path on deepening friendships. Usually once a week, I went to a place and there were a couple of people, 10, 12 people. But the atmosphere that was there was really positive. And I would argue it is positive because people didn't know each other very well.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get to know each other, you understand the quirks, you see something they don't like, and so on. But it was kind of the atmosphere was carried by this benevolence, by this common understanding that, we gather to do something good for ourselves. We want to be nice to each other. When we speak in a respectful way. So there is this artificial kind of thing there that everyone is taking a break from their difficult lives, but still it felt good. And usually I I and the people that I know that I spoke to, they left, such an evening gathering or a weekend gathering, whatever it was with a positive feeling of, that was good. Like everyone tried, everyone was nice, welcoming, and so on. So this is what I have in mind, and I would like to ask you, do you have cycles like these? Do you have experience with groups like these? Can you imagine to interact with groups like these just to get, a sense of well wishes from other people and a positive vibe, a positive style of interaction?
Yeah, definitely in the past, I think I have. Yeah. I mean, either with being with just going to yoga class or I don't know, when I go to sing at a choir, I've
Hmm.
always left, I don't know, it's a good feeling. And so yeah, definitely I can understand your experience, and definitely have been there myself.
Do you have experience with groups like these where there was not just a common activity, like singing and doing yoga, but
Hmm.
that involves also conversations where there's a group interaction? So, in the meditation
Oh.
group, for example, we used, of course,
Mhm.
to meditate. That's the majority of the time. But then afterwards, there was a 45-minute discussion where
Okay.
many people had the experience of they said something and then it resonated with others, and people would
Mm.
have the opportunity to say, oh, that's such an interesting observation, and this is what I experienced. And then immediately I feel, acknowledged. So it's not just that there is an atmosphere, but also the conversations kind of there, they carry this positive sentiment, this positive vibe. And I know yoga groups can do that, but I know that many of them are more, practice oriented. So I wonder if you had something like this.
No. Not recently.
Hmm.
It's been a long time since I've had something like that in a group.
Could you imagine that this would have a soothing and a positive effect on you?
Yeah. I mean, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about the time when I was in group therapy,
Oh,
and
interesting. Hmm.
yeah, that was very. It was at first something that I think I struggled with, because it was speaking about your own experiences within a group and not being one on one with just the therapist. But
Hmm.
I think I really benefited from the situation, because it was, you got to hear so many different experiences and ways of looking at situations, or things that maybe I hadn't thought about, or just, I guess, just I don't know. And yeah, I did always leave with a sense of connection, in that sense that, mm, I mean, in some sense, we're bonding.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can totally see that. And I think that there are many contexts, institutes, I don't know, places where something like this is offered. It doesn't have to be therapy. It can be
Yeah.
workshops, for example, right, that are
Right.
communication based, where
Mm-hmm.
people go there to learn a skill, but at the same time, they all acknowledge that they kind of need and lack what is offered. So there's the humbleness there, there's the understanding of we're all in the same boat, and we
Mm-hmm.
see eye to eye. So I think that this is something. I think there is a possibility there to explore, the offerings that are around you,
Mm-hmm.
and to indeed maybe find an offer that provides that. Because what you said is absolutely true, and people have this in all kinds of contexts like this. Be it church groups or AA meetings or group
Mm-hmm.
therapy, where people gather and they all share this understanding of we're all flawed. We kind of share an issue or a topic that we like, and so we don't denigrate, we don't criticize. We are all here as people who need support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hmm. So it sounds really nice to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would definitely help me. Um, and yeah, I mean, looking back at the experiences I did have with that kind of groups and communication, I think that I did feel somewhat that I benefited from it. Just I guess, yeah, like you said, sharing experiences and just knowing that we're all kind of in the on the going through, I guess, it all in some sense together, even though it may be a different situation. But
Yes. And what I would like to highlight, an important aspect in that is, so not that, you or the listeners get the idea of, oh, so we're all wallowing kind of in pain
mm.
or something like that. A great advantage of these groups are it's confined,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a topic that we touched upon in our last conversation. When I am in an open context with a friend or someone that I think could become a friend, I'm always worrying about, am I too much? Am I overburdening? Can I, dare to be more open, or should I stay superficial? All of this because it's an open context, could go anywhere. It can become the best
Mm-hmm.
friendship in the world, or for the next sentence, that I reveal something, they could say, that's not for me. She's stupid or too much or too something, right? So there's a risk, and this risk is heavy on the mind, especially if I'm insecure, because then I was like, should I say that? Should I go there? Should I suggest this meeting or that? And the great advantage in such groups is the context is clear. You go there, it's 1.5, 1 hour, 2 hours of sharing, whatever, and then everyone goes home. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, in exceptional cases, you can befriend someone there, but then it has to be really clear. Like it's I usually don't just try to befriend everyone in such a group. Usually it's clear, we go there, we share, and then we leave. So there's
Right.
less risk and less burden on my mind. Plus, if it's moderated well, it's relatively clear what the expectation is. Share
Mm-hmm.
this, share that, and then someone leads by example, and then I understand kind of where the group dynamic goes. And again, I don't have to kind of think too much about should I say that or not, because the context makes it clear what is in the range of the acceptable, of the expected.
Right. Okay. I think I think the other question that's coming up for me is that, and I wanted to kind of get your feedback, or is how um because as people, I think we're never truly going to really understand somebody else's behavior or and how is it that instead of taking that on and letting it affect us, how can we kind of shift a way of thinking so that we can stop kind of questioning and just have some understanding and then not understanding, if that kind of makes sense.
Can you give me an example? Because I didn't quite understand what you mean.
Yeah, like I mean, just going back to like what I was saying about maybe my father not taking the 5 seconds to write me on Facebook to say happy birthday. How can I just say, okay, I don't understand his behavior and it hurts me, but I'm going to try to not understand, and that's okay because I won't understand, and just kind of leave it at that. I mean, I'm just giving an example instead of like taking on having and questioning it myself for weeks as to why he wouldn't do it, why, like, what did I do, or what kind of a shitty father is he, like all of these like very negative things that just at the end don't help me.
Yes. So this is trickier because, to put it in other words, you're trying to deprogram the mind to not to do something that it very readily does. Our mind is one part of our mind um, is constantly trying to calculate if I'm liked and loved by my surrounding or not. Like I live here in Poland, right? And for a while, I could kind of observe how part of the mind is obsessing about what do the neighbors think about me. Like, do they see me as the weird German guy, or do they like foreigners at all, or like, when I don't speak Polish, right? When I walk past and they say something, is it comments about me? All these things, right? And to a certain extent, we cannot help but having these kind of assessments and calculations all the time, because on a simple level we depended on it evolutionarily to understand, am I in danger in my immediate surrounding? So to come to a point where I say, oh, I don't care the fuck about what they think about me, I lead my life, why should I care? I have to take a I have to remove myself from the issue and get to a different place. What I mean with that is I stop to reflect about them and what they may say, and then to tell myself, oh, I don't care what they say. I have to get to a place where I contemplate about my life and I ask myself, do I want to lead a life where I depend on other people or other people's opinions or my neighbor's opinions? Right? So I ask myself a more general question. I'm not directly at the issue. I would be more at the issue, at kind of in a hand-to-hand combat with the issue, if I walk past people, they say something, and then I would be like, no, it doesn't matter what they say, just go straight, don't look, don't make a comment, don't think. Then I would be kind of right in the battle of things. As similar as you described, you think about your dad and he not sending you a message, and then you would like to turn that thought off or that pain off.
Yeah, or I think I would maybe, I guess, if that's just too much to do, and maybe find like the middle ground of how can I just like how can I maybe shift the way I am, or I mean, I guess I just wanted somehow not go through that whole loop of it affecting me for so long.
I
And
understand.
instead of just being like, oh, I don't give a fuck, because obviously I do,
Right.
and trying to find a way that it's like, okay, well, I don't know, I'm never going to understand why he does the thing he does. So
Yes.
how can I just find a way to just separate, I guess, is maybe. that this is me and this is him, and his behavior is his and mine is
Yeah.
mine. So yeah.
Yes, that's a good term to separate those two. And in a weird way, I would offer something counterintuitive, which is first of all to admit to myself that a part of me is really craving for his recognition.
Right.
This is the place that I don't want to go to because this is what hurts. Right? Because I crave for his recognition, this is why it hurts. Right? So to intentionally go there again, it doesn't look like something that would be helpful because I want to get away from that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say this is important because there is, when I acknowledge something that is true within myself, there is a strength that comes from that. Let's call it the strength that comes from self-honesty. And there is a stability, I make a little bit of a leap here, there is an aspect of self-love in being able to admit to myself something difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I'm acknowledging something that craves for recognition, not only, that the recognition that I would like to have from my father, from my dad, but all kinds of desires that are difficult. If I have a kink or something that I'm ashamed about, even from that, there's an act of self-love if I can stand behind that. Or if I did something that I find difficult to admit to myself, if I cheated, if I stole something, if I betrayed someone, right? Something that is truly horrible, and I would never kind of consciously, I would like to erase that from my mind. And still, if I go there and admit to myself, wait a minute, I did that. I'm ashamed of it, but I did that.
Mm-hmm.
There is an acknowledgement of this thing that is burning inside of me. And there is a secondary pain from this memory of what I did, because it knows that I don't like it. Right? So if I personalize kind of this thing, the shameful thing that I did, let's say I stole something, right? Even this memory wants to be recognized. But this memory knows that I don't want to have anything to do with that, that I would like to erase that. And it cannot endure it. It wants to be recognized. So in a similar way, when you admit to yourself, when you start with, right, as a starting point, I crave for love and for recognition from certain people. And it hurts me so much that I don't get it. As a starting point, there is a quality in that. There's a quality of truth, of honesty, and of bravery.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get a sense of what I'm hinting at?
Yeah.
And this I can use as a scaffolding, because in order to let go, this is what you have in mind, right? In order to have the strength to separate those two needs, to see the father as a complex person that he is, that he will have his reasons, that he has his subjective reasons to not acknowledge me or not to reach out or to despise me or whatever. I would like to have the strength to see it this way. In order for the strength to be there, I need some sort of foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And as this kind of radical stand of self-honesty, which I would argue is based on self-love, because I'm recognizing aspects inside of me that are difficult to recognize, this can be a source of this strength.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it probably doesn't suffice. Like we spoke before, it's a difficult thing to pull off. So
Mm-hmm.
I would mostly argue for a mixed model of, yes, try, find a group of friends or find a group context. do those things that you do, the breathing, the affirmations, the physical exercises, in order to get strength, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that in itself, this kind of radical self-honesty and admitting to oneself the difficult things that are within me might not suffice to give me the strength that I need, but it will be an important contribution.
Okay.
So a real exercise, if we're looking at a pragmatic level, would be to actually sit down and write down the difficult things that I know I have a hard time to face.
Mm-hmm.
And to have, an exclamation mark behind that. Yes, yes, I know that. This is within me. And I accept it for what it is for now. I don't like the consequences of this. I don't like the consequence that my craving for love makes me weak and makes me insecure. But I see it. I acknowledge it. And
Yeah.
so to have an actual list and to go through this and to go through the process of accepting it for as it is right now, not meaning that I want to accept it as a big good thing or for the future or something. I want to work on it, but I start with an acknowledgement. What are the
Mm-hmm.
thoughts that come to you?
Of writing down things, or
I don't know. Whatever thoughts you have. You just wanted to comment on something.
oh, no. I was just listening and to what you were saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you can you imagine to do something like this, or do you think it's too challenging?
No, I think I could do it.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially you can get another source of energy from your willingness to change something, because this is how we started our conversations. When you said this is what I got, at least from you, it's kind of enough. I don't want to deal with this stuff anymore. I
Yeah.
want to be in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me sounds like you are willing to look at yourself even in this you know unromantic way, and to have this sober assessment of where your headspace is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that maybe up to this point, I mean, I'm just kind of skimming my memory. But it's been maybe the things that I've been writing down or journaling have been about maybe affirmations or such, about how I'm strong, how,
Mm-hmm.
I can deal, or well, I can deal. That to just let things kind of be as they occur, and to kind of accept. And maybe as I've been listening to what you're saying, it's I have to really sit down and be like, and sit down and really look at the inner I guess the inner void. I don't know if that's the term, but
Mm-hmm.
just maybe just be like, well, in some sense, maybe I do feel weak in this,
Yes.
and that's okay.
Yes. For me, there's a dramatic difference. I mean, for some people the affirmations work. I don't
Mm-hmm.
doubt that. But what is missing for me in that is, if I was the if I am the voice of shame within me, right? I kind of I again I anthropomorphize it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I assume it's a being within me for the sake of
Mm-hmm.
simplicity. I am that shame. And then I see my master, my boss, saying, I want to be just good, or I want to be proud of what I do, or something like that. my sense was like, hey, what about me? And the response would be like, what about you? You're a piece of shit. I don't want you in my system.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, without knowing it, without wanting it, by only focusing on the positive, only focusing on the affirmations, there is an implicit rejection of so many
Yeah.
parts within me.
Yeah.
And rejection is the thing that I'm already suffering from.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And here to start with, okay, everyone, gather around. What do we have? I'm proud of the things that I've done, of the good that I slowly brought into my life, and I'm still ashamed of the bad things that I've done.
Right.
And I'm sad for my vulnerability when it comes to other people. Even though I would like to be so strong, but it pains me that I want to reach out to people and I can't. And when I, in this manner, to collect all of those voices, and then I feel how all of these voices are heard. And then they can't let go because they are acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
They're ready to say, okay, now that I've been heard, I'm ready to move with a team to another shore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's work towards self-reliance, positivity, and so on. Does that intuitively make sense to you?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, it makes sense. I think maybe at some points in my life where I've been truly, truly depressed and I needed to kind of really build myself up in I think the positive, looking at the positive things and doing the positive affirmations have really helped
Yes.
to kind of lift my energy and my spirit and bring me to a place where, I can function.
Yeah.
But I think I'm at that place now where I don't have that same experience of being truly depressed or truly, I think it's more coming, I think now it's kind of shifting in the sense that I have to kind of look at the inner pain so that I'm able to kind of heal that.
Mm.
So that so that I can start feeling these kind of positive things as a daily, I guess, routine, something normal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do understand that if you're not in the position to really look at that negative because you're not, you're not feeling good, it can bring you down and to a darker place. And so I think, yeah, I think it will be helpful to start looking at all of this, the really inner hurt, to kind of start healing those things. So maybe the positive affirmations aren't helping so much right now because there's other work that I need to do. Yeah.
And I like what you said, that there was a time when they really had that purpose and they worked for you, right? To build
Yeah,
you up.
definitely.
So yes, that's important to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure it will be, I will have to kind of blend both things. I mean, looking at the at the hurt is hard. So the positive affirmations and keeping that in the I guess in the front line will help too. So
Yeah.
mm,
And to add another, perspective on this, when you do this and you look at all those different voices within you and you acknowledge them, isn't that what you hope others who love you would do for you? Or to put it differently, isn't that what you asked about in the beginning? How can I be more self-reliant? and less dependent on other people. If you can show this kind of self-love towards yourself, those parts that you intuitively would like to get rid of, that you're ashamed of, that you're not proud of. At least for me, this is something that when I think of an ideal person to love me, these are the things that they would accept.
Mm-hmm.
And I could let myself just fall and, just think, thank you, for being so just accepting and non-judgmental. Right? And when I
Yeah.
can give this to myself, isn't that, major step towards an independence towards a place where I understand I don't need you, other person, be it my dad, be it a friend. I don't need you anymore to accept me because I accept myself in a much more radical way than anyone else could.
Yeah. Mm.
And then I guarantee you, because this is how the mind works, it doesn't stop there. Sometimes people are worried, what happens if I accept, kind of a thing that I'm not proud of? Doesn't it mean that I'm okay with it and nothing changes? This is not how it works. Because with acceptance, there is a changing dynamic that happens. Something shifts within me when something difficult is accepted and embraced. And it
Mm-hmm.
leads to something more fulfilling, to a better feeling with myself, and so on. It's not static.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already kind of feeling that
Hmm.
in some sense, having that recognition, not recognition, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like comprehending, understanding
Yes.
what of the sense of acknowledging all of these things and accepting is already in some sense making me feel lighter and giving me some clarity as to yeah, that it's okay to just feel these things, or I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining very well, but yeah, I understand.
Good.
And I think it will be something, I mean, that I definitely the next step in my own self work that I need to do.
Yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
glad. Okay. If you don't mind, why don't you give me and us, for the end of this session, a kind of a review of the 3 sessions that we had, kind of knowing that it's a super short period of time, and it's kind of the constraint of knowing that it's a recording and so on. But leaving that aside, what was kind of the effect of these conversations? How did you use them for yourself to again use the motivation that you have for self change and to morph it into something else?
Oh. That's a kind of a difficult question for me, because I think that normally for me, when I really want to do deep work and I really want to look at, I guess, at this other side of me that I really want to kind of improve on, and in a sense because I want to feel better. I have to be in a state where I'm in a comfortable environment, where I'm in a comfortable place in my life in general. And since we started our conversations, my life has been constant, a bit of chaos.
Yeah.
And so I think I've been kind of skimming, um, like just kind of thinking about our conversations, but I haven't really been able to go fully deep
Hmm.
into really what I think this work involves. But I think I think that I'm soon going to be in a place where I will be able to be in a more comfortable environment for myself, that I will definitely go back and rethink and start putting into place all of these things that I need to do. I mean, I understand that it's a longer process, and it's not something that's not can change after 3 sessions, but I think that definitely today I think has really helped me kind of look at the next steps of what I need to do to kind of evolve in this, I guess, self acknowledgement of the entire being, and not just one of the beings. Like,
Yes.
yeah. Um, what else? I mean, I think also, as much as I've tried to forget that, at the end, this is going to be, it is something that's going to be heard. Um, that somewhat has been on the back of my mind. So maybe, I don't know, it's just a different kind of situation than just being, with someone, speaking with someone one on one.
Yes.
And maybe I think that's also why I have to kind of just sit down and really reflect on our 3 sessions, and kind of like think about our conversations, and I guess on my own, and yeah. But I'm definitely, I think, excited about this new kind of tool.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for um, your honesty, and also to engage, as you said, in a life situation where you have many things going on, and it would, technically not be the ideal place, but what I like about it is that this is life, and sometimes,
Yeah.
people engage in, or they have to do self-development not under the best circumstances, and it's just a glimpse of that. So kind of for me, there's something very real about that
Mm-hmm.
we sometimes have to be in these processes, and then to remind ourselves to revisit it in order to go deeper when we have more time, and so on. So even though I would also wish it for yourself that circumstances would be easier, but it's also very real.
Yeah.
And that's also something that I felt in those conversations with you all the time, that you really tried to connect with yourself and with me under the circumstances, and to yeah, to have an honest encounter, and I value that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I did try in some sense to say, okay, this hour is just for me, and
Hmm.
leave kind of everything else a bit on the sidelines, and just be like, that I will have to come back to, but try to just focus on this 1 hour. It's just for 1 hour, and it's for me.
Yes.
So, um, I mean, it's not easy. Definitely not. My mind has been going on, and on and on about the million things I should be doing, and I'm
Yeah.
quite fidgety, but it's I'm actually really proud that I just didn't get up and start walking around or whatever. I don't know that
Hmm.
I would do, because it's just some
Sure.
sense it is a bit of I don't know, it could be the discomfort of just having to speak about these things, and or or multitasking sometimes is just, it's like a safety net, because you're not ideally focusing on one thing. But I think, yeah, I have to acknowledge that the 3 sessions I did sit calmly, and so and I did really try to give, all of myself, because I do really want to I self-develop and just, in some sense, be a better person for me. And yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thanks.